This video is sponsored by Surfshark. Stay tuned for more on them in a minute. Last year, I reviewed the spectacularly stupid film Disciples in the Moonlight, which sent me down a bit of a rabbit hole of bad Christian and right-wing movies that hit during election season in 2024. Yet, among the several I reviewed, Disciples in the Moonlight was a special gem, uniquely stupid and yet self-serious and brimming with unearned confidence. But amid the busy month of November, there was one faith film that escaped my eye: The Carpenter. It's a film about a Viking orphan who meets Jesus in Nazareth, and Jesus coaches him through an MMA tournament, and it's played as a drama. Now, it had a limited screening in November, and I put it off for several months because I was just busy with other projects. And when it came time to finally sit down and pull it out of the backlog, I was blindsided. You see, it turns out that despite a theatrical release and a hefty, reportedly $3 million budget, the film was never actually released on digital or streaming or really anywhere else. And I spent hours searching for it through seedy internet back alleyways, coming up with nothing. According to some cursory research, the film pulled in just under $250,000 at the box office, which is probably well under what I bet the filmmakers thought it would get. I mean, hell, it's actually filmed on location in Africa. The firing squad just green screened all that shit, and they had Cuba Gooding Jr. But the film's underperformance and ensuing lack of any true release only made me want to sit down and watch it all the more. How bad could a movie featuring Jesus teaching a Viking MMA fighter played entirely straight be? And additionally, how bad could it be if it just got buried without any actual release? Now, this is a Christian movie we're talking about, so we're grading on a curve that is roughly shaped like Kevin Sorbo's career trajectory. And then, as if from Christ himself, a miracle. Someone reached out to me with access to a copy of the film, and later that night, my partner and I ordered pizza and locked in. Outside of a brief trailer I had seen at some point, neither of us had any idea what to expect, but I certainly didn't expect The Carpenter to knock out Disciples in the Moonlight as the most ridiculous, batshit piece of Christian filmmaking I've ever seen. But before we get to all the bare-knuckle Bible thumping and also just person thumping action, we got to talk about something that's just as important as watching movies online, and that's being able to access them. Sometimes you just can't find what you want on the internet. I mean, take for example, a bizarre Christian MMA movie about Jesus with a nu metal soundtrack. Or let's say you watched that movie and found yourself going, man, I could really listen to some Godsmack right about now. Which is why this video is sponsored by Surfshark. In today's busy world, it's not always easy to know where you can find the media you want, and if you do find it, how you can access it, which is why I recommend Surfshark. Surfshark makes it easy to take control of your internet browsing. They have over 3,000 servers in 100 countries worldwide, allowing you to keep your location safe from people online while also bypassing region locking for streaming services like Netflix and Hulu. So no more limiting what media you can access based on where you are in the world. With Surfshark's clean web feature, you can surf the internet without worrying about malware, phishing attempts, or annoying pop-ups. You can also use Surfshark tools on the go to help hide your identity and information when using public Wi-Fi, or change your region while traveling to access services like Spotify. And as a special offer, you can get 4 months of Surfshark free when you sign up by going to surfshark.com/deaddomain, or using the code deaddomain at checkout. One more time, that's code deaddomain, or go to surfshark.com/deaddomain for 4 months free when you sign up. And with that out of the way, let's get to the main event. The movie opens with 3 Coin Productions and Boomtown Films taking the blame for what we're about to be exposed to. After a quick title drop, we're thrust into a 4000 BC biblical timeline with animated graphics that the History Channel might cut from an episode of Ancient Aliens for being too goofy. And in the first minute of the film, you get the only tone setting you're going to need when a full-on nu metal soundtrack kicks in, and we're told the scene is in 29 AD as a drone shot flies over a group of white people bare-knuckle boxing. I'm not just making a joke about the nu metal here, because much like the bad acting, early 2000s hard rock and metal is just infused throughout The Carpenter. And if you're thinking it's going to be all the same, royalty-free, generic Xbox 360 era hard rock, think again, because this soundtrack is legitimately chock full of licensed music from bands including Motley Crue, Godsmack, Metallica, and more. But I'm going to let that be a little taster for what comes later, because the filmmakers are going to attempt to follow two concurrent plot lines in the opening. The first is the main character, Oren, fighting a dude, and the second is his parents, back at the ranch, struggling to do their daily chores because their large 45-year-old son is fighting again. Oh, kids these days. There's actually a little bit of a sweet scene between Ma and Pa Kettle here, who are two of the only actors in the movie I would call competent. And because we don't have time for all that sissy, sentimental bullcrap, we get right back to the new metal music video happening in the canyon around the corner. And already in this opening scene, we have the cardinal sin of movie fights, which is too many cuts and not nearly enough showing of emotion or impact. When I was in film school, my teacher taught me something that stuck with me. It's the reason why so many old cheesy kung fu movies that are decades old still have better fight scenes than some modern productions. You should only cut to show a character's emotion, that is, getting hit or exerting, or to show impact. As an example, here's a small scene to illustrate my point. And then, here's the carpenter. The fight scene editing across the movie seems to have taken a lot of MCU influence. And by that I mean it's like somebody side-fucked the Netflix Iron Fist series with Kevin Sorbo's Hercules. Would you believe it that tragedy befalls the family as the old man dies because his son wasn't home to help? This is actually kind of a fascinating starting point for the character, because you might assume it would lead to some reflection on Oren's part, that a driving force for him throughout the film would be growing to forgive himself for his father's death. Nope, it's brought up much later, but in a much stupider way. So Oren wins the fight after appearing to be almost down and out because his brother says he simply refuses to lose. And as his dad is getting final destinationed by an overgrown Lincoln log, a Roman centurion pulls Oren aside and tells him that if he wants to stop wasting his time in this podunk village, there's real money waiting in Nazareth. The brothers travel home, and we get our first look at what the lead actor's thespian chops have to offer.
You sticking around? Come by the house, say hi to Mom and Dad.
Yeah, I'll stop by. See if anything needs fixing.
Needs fixing? Come on.
We both know your work ethic.
Oh shit. So, this is the protagonist we're stuck with for 2 hours. He looks like if JP Sears took the super soldier serum, with all the enticing, screen-searing charisma of a crunchy sock. I don't need to insult much here because the performance itself is a constant cacophony of insults to life, cinema, and my will to live that come at you so viciously it would make Def Jam blush. So Dad is on his way out, and he tells Oren to take his mom and bro to Nazareth, saying, "There's a plan for each of us. You need to find your peace in Nazareth." The tagline for the movie, by the way, is "The King of the Ring meets the Prince of Peace." So kind of giving it away from the start that, yeah, we get it. He's going to find Jesus in Nazareth because it's kind of a likely place for Jesus to be. Oren uses his one spell slot for the day to attempt acting. It's unsuccessful, and he throws a hammer. So then we meet Oren's uncle, who explains to Oren that there's basically a Mortal Kombat-style kumite, and that the entire movie is a tournament arc, but with Jesus. Incidentally, when I was watching this dinner conversation, I had the strangest flashbacks to another film. I was wondering, where had I seen this before? And then I realized it's because they have the exact same dinner conversation Qui-Gon Jinn has with Anakin about pod racing, but where his mom is talking about fighting in Nazareth instead. I mean, if you're going to steal, do it from the best, right? He twangs away on a guitar because, God forbid, a girl have a hobby, when his uncle comes in and offers to help him find a fight in Nazareth. The brain of a puppy trapped inside the body of a Gen X anti-vaxxer responds with a look so vacant you could advertise it with free cable and color TV. Then the music kicks in again as we're in Nazareth, and of course he's got to check out the fight. This is like the second of a total of 3 arenas in this movie, and you better believe they're going to get their money's worth for this thing. The fighting has all the variety of a PlayStation 1 fighting game you barely remember playing as a kid because it was just terrible. But you still tried it from time to time to see if it got less terrible, and it never did. Yeah, who else remembers Masters of Terrakasi? So he goes to the arena, and when he gets there, he tells his brother he wanted to have a look. To which his brother replies, "A look? You are the look." What? Now, apparently the centurion from the beginning has been talking up how awesome he is, and his uncle says, hey, just go do a fight, no big. His uncle literally says, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. This fight has slightly better choreography, but it still uses too many skips and cuts, and some shots there's like random vignetting on the edges, like they were just pressing random buttons in the editing room. So after a few minutes of unconvincing stage combat, it looks like Oren might be down for the count. He's getting too heated, leaving himself exposed. What's going to happen next? All right, pause for a sec. Remember when I talked about the new metal soundtrack? Well, I'm just going to play as much of this scene as I think I can get away with, unedited, and assuming it doesn't trip any copyright claims, I sincerely hope your reaction is similar to mine. Yeah, this film has an unironic, let the bodies hit the floor needle drop in 2024. And then he punches the ref. I've never seen a movie use hype and aura techniques thought lost to time, to the age of anime music videos starring Naruto and Sasuke set to Korn and Static X. This film, unironically, does a drowning pool, let the bodies hit the floor, needle drop, as Oren just goes crazy. And I think that's honestly all you need to know about this movie. It's all going to be like this. And then the real star shows up. He's a great actor, isn't he? Now, apparently he's on the run from some Assassin's Creed guards, I guess for doing middle school cringe as his entry fight music. I'm actually kind of impressed by the sets and costuming here. It's clear this is still a budget production and very little attention was paid to any kind of historical accuracy, but the film at least looks like a proper theatrical period piece. So he has this Aladdin moment where he runs into a fine Nazarene honey as he's running into and out of pockets of slow motion space-time. Gee, I wonder if that lady's going to come back later. And then he accidentally runs into Jesus' carpentry shop, and Jesus pays the guards to leave him alone, and then he just goes and chills as Jesus asks him what brought him to Nazareth, to which he said, my father sent me, but kind of that's not the entire truth. He says that he will pay Jesus back for paying off the guards. Jesus says, don't worry about it, there is no debt. And then Jesus just heals him with like healing superpowers. So after being healed by a carpenter, he goes back to his house and talks with his uncle, who says, oh, he could really go the distance. And Oren's response is, I don't fail at fighting. Okay, cool character that has no flaws, I guess. You may have noticed in both fight scenes so far, Oren has a period of being downed. He's shown being overeager and taking risks in the fight, which, in the hands of a competent writer, would be character flaws to explore and develop through the film. Along with his father's death and a journey to acceptance and self-forgiveness, he also learns from the Prince of Peace about patience and the value of knowing when to fight or walk away. That's not what happens in the movie, by the way. I have a sneaking suspicion this entire film is a weird vanity project, and the biggest reason I think that is because the main character basically has no flaws. He's never really in any danger. Everyone he meets likes him unless it's another fighter or a Roman, and he spends the whole movie doing selfless things in Jesus' teachings. He's always a cool dude who gets what he wants every single time. The problem is that this is also half of a sports movie, a genre entirely based on underdog stories of overcoming obstacles and odds. Half of the runtime is dedicated to this vacation Bible school production of Bloodsport, so not only is the actor unlikable, the character has nothing interesting about him either. He's like a double-stuffed Oreo filled with orange-flavored toothpaste. So he meets up with the lady from earlier, Mira, and the two have a little meet-cute passing out food to the poor because she follows Jesus' teachings. Then she finds out he's apparently Jesus, or Yeshua's, carpentry assistant, disciple, apprentice. Oh, and Jesus' mom Mary is there too with this really adorable scene of Jesus going, thanks, Mom.
I'm going. Thank you for the visit.
Thank you, Mama.
We'll go with you. Thank you.
I don't know why, but the image of Jesus saying, thanks, Mom, like she put the cheese sticks he likes in his school lunch, is very funny for me. And look, I kind of like the actor they got for Jesus. I mean, he fits the comics perfectly. You could believe a guy like this has a rippling 8-pack under his Party City toga. So while sparring for a fight, Oren gets cut and then just says, I'll have Jesus look at it, like he's an on-call doctor, but this time Jesus says no, he's not just there for a healing superpower booty call, only the first one's free. And then we get some exposition as the film finally addresses one of several large elephants in the room, namely, how did this red-haired white devil make it to Jesus town? He tells Jesus the story of him and his brother being adopted after being taken from his homestead after Roman Viking conflict. So, yeah, that makes sense. Now, because Dr. Jesus' PhD is taking a sabbatical, do you see what I did there? Because it's like, so they go to the only other doctor in town, and would you believe that he is hysterically, let's say, stereotyped? Now, I'm not allowed to say what kind of doctor he is. But
Now what happened? You walk into a tree or something, huh? Him? You do this to him. What do you insult your mother? Come inside, come. No, it's possible. No. Your brother, if you assault his mother, insult. Sit. Must be the wife. What did he say about your wife? What did you say about his wife? Huh?
Honest contention's better than dishonest harmony.
But dishonest harmony is safer, no? Fighting.
the doctor then lays out some arcane medical knowledge. He gives him a different strategy, saying this body has strengths and weaknesses. So this movie is also apparently the origin of strategy in hand-to-hand fights. Like he literally gives Oren weak points to hit like a boss battle. And then we get one of the most awkward line exchanges in the movie where the doctor says, "You attack the trunk, you expose the face." And Oren replies, "Like a tree?"
You attack the trunk, you expose the face.
Like a tree.
Put aside Godsmack for a second. This is the real key to understanding this movie. Everything is trees. Carpenter's apprentice? Trees. Dead dad? Killed with a log? That's just circumcised trees. Need to punch somebody in the face? Like a tree.
Like a tree.
Everything is trees. We get more butt rock as we cut to the next fight where the wardrobe department couldn't be fucked to cover up one of the other fighters' Triforce tattoos. He pulls out what looks like some Muay Thai, but I guess Tony Jaa was busy, so this guy was the best they could get. And then halfway through the fight, the doc gives him the signal to actually use strategy, and he just destroys the guy. Like, Oren is really over here being like, oh yeah, what if I just punched Gooder? And he just wins. The problem is that Oren has the constant expression of an anxious golden retriever. He's just not charismatic or believable as a Viking fighter, as a natural berserker with a heart of gold. He'd barely be believable if they casted him as an actual tree. The only thing that would give me pause is his wooden acting would be perfect for the role. Maybe he can play Jesus' manger in the prequel, The Carpenter, Cradle to the Grave. So he's working with his brother's at-home gym, and they're talking about the Carpenter when Oren says, oh, he's so awesome and wise, but we haven't really seen them do much of anything together. Speak of the Jesus, he goes to help Mira as he's also playing wingman and sets up a meet-cute between the two. And as Jesus leaves the two lovebirds to their devices, we get the sole legitimate attempt at a comic relief scene where they try to make Oren as off-putting and awkward as possible to be funny, but he's already been off-putting and awkward throughout the entire film.
Everything okay?
Of course. We're here to work on your wall today. At the gate today. We just want to let you know we're here.
Great. If there's anything you need, let me know.
Well, we don't need anything. But if we do, which we don't, I'll let you know. Which is what you just said.
I did.
So then, back at the Jesus cave, they have a heart-to-heart about his dad, and Jesus asks him if Oren can cultivate his gift of fighting to, quote, let his light shine to others. So I realize this movie seems to have been written by a pair of sentient tap-out brand gym shorts, but I do find it funny that Jesus is just so okay with punching dudes for fun. Like, Oren's job is literally violence for money, and Jesus just doesn't care, apparently. We get another talking scene, because if you haven't figured it out, that's just the pace of this movie. It is a series of backyard wrestling brawls you'd find on VHS tapes at a yard sale, stitched together with the local community theater production of The Ten Commandments. Then we cut to the dinner date where Oren is finally getting to know Mira, and wouldn't you know it, she also has a tragic backstory. Her husband fell ill, died, and Jesus just came by and helped them build their damn house, and according to her, he was, quote, willing to listen. So we definitely know she stuck around for a second coming. During their conversation, he gives a impassioned speech on why he loves fighting, but the dude is just a void of charisma, so he might as well be reading a fucking grocery list. And then it's time for a Rocky training montage like he's Batfleck. And why not? Let's get another montage after a pointless talking scene. This time it's just a montage of some, in fairness, actually beautiful shots of Jesus and Oren together and him telling Oren life lessons about carpentry like it's the damn secret. Also, if we're being entirely real, Jesus and Oren make more sense as a couple in the context of this film than Oren and the person who he'll eventually marry. Like, Jesus and Oren, despite Oren's best efforts at acting, have more chemistry. They say more to each other. They spend more time together. Wait a minute. There's a carpentry montage? That's trees. That's trees. And now we go back to the arena for a night fight, and they start playing the bass line for Motley Crue's Saints of Los Angeles, and they loop it several times before the fight actually starts. Except it's the version of the song without vocals, which is probably for the best because it's a song heavily involving a gang rape. Like, literally, here are the lyrics from the 2008 song. So, the Lord of Nazareth is getting worked by DJ Khaled, and just when we think he might be under a real threat, Orem gets Zangief back and we get an artful shot of cutting woods. Because fighting is like trees, everything is trees. Back at the Christ Cave, he asks Jesus why bad things happen to good people, and it's more bad things happen, so opportunities can happen rhetoric. He should ask, why did my dad die? But the answer would be, 'cause you suck, dude. And then Jesus makes him a guitar. So now they have a punching bag out of nowhere, and he's talking to his brother about how he's going to propose to Mira, because apparently they've grown very close, even though we haven't really seen it. The movie takes place over several months, and you'd never know if they didn't explicitly tell you through expository dialogue. And then we just get another fight scene, this time with another Motley Crue song, Live Wire, in the background. There's not much new or interesting to say about this fight because basically now he just has cheat codes like punch people in their glowing weak spots. He's basically unstoppable. This fight is the one he needs to win to get to Jerusalem. So he breaks a dude's arm and then Spartan kicks him off the stage while Motley Crue plays. This movie came out in 2024. I feel the need to remind you. So we're back to the Lifetime original movie everyone else is living in while Oren lives out all the writer-director's middle school fantasies of beating up his bullies. Jesus said he should sing Mira a song to propose, and we reiterate that all of this has taken place over a couple months. Cut to a romantic moment with everyone, but I know his ass can't sing because they play stock music over it as everyone celebrates. Like, come on, dude, you couldn't even throw a couple bucks towards licensing Silent Lucidity or something? But again, because Oren and Jesus are actually the ones in love, he's back talking with Jesus right after he proposes, and he asks, how do you know so much stuff so good? This movie treats Jesus like he's a mystery, but it's Jesus. It's not a mystery. I know who that is. That's Jesus. Jesus counsels him to go talk to his dead dad, and he's afraid of not being ready. Then Jesus says, mourning is a divine form of love. You should visit him when you're ready. The weirdest thing about this movie is that it doesn't even give, like, bad advice. And what's more, Jesus is actually a warm, likable, inviting character. It's just all between awful acting, slow motion shots, and Motley Crue. So he goes and does a sad mourning at the grave where he finds the hammer he threw earlier and finds out that Jesus made the hammer. Fucking what? So yeah, remember the hammer he threw earlier at home. Turns out that was Chekhov's Jesus hammer. And you fool, you should have known it would come back to reveal that Oren's dad actually knew Jesus. Now, he says he's going to quit fighting, and his brother says there's always more that you can become, and we get another training montage, and, like, in fairness, my man is looking jacked. And now we're introducing a racist Roman who's mad at him because he made him lose a bet. Like, 70% of the movie in, and Oren finally develops a fucking character trait, and it's being 7 and unable to avoid childish ribbing. Except this also doesn't come up again. If you're thinking, hey, this might be a good time to develop a character who actually has to put Christian principles over his first violent impulses, then you're not the writer or director of this movie. And then Oren asks Jesus for his origin story, and I'd tell him to just wait for the book, honestly.
You're not like anyone I've ever known. So why help me? I'm nobody.
You're somebody to me.
Yeah, I ship them. So he tells Oren to answer his calling. his calling apparently just being hitting guys real hard while Motley Crue plays. Truly, he works in mysterious ways. Before the big fight, he talks with Mira about how awesome their life is going and how if he wins, it's going to be even more awesomer. But even if he loses, he'll still have Jesus and his wife. So, like, there's no real downside. Like, even if he loses, he still has a wife who loves him and a community and family to support him. So he's just doing this big fight at the end because he wanted another montage and hype entry music, I guess. So they all set out for Jerusalem, where you can actually see some of the scaffolding behind the walls in the shot. But there's no time to sightsee. We got to get to locker room pep talk as he's wrapping up. Now, Uncle and brother are there and give nothing but praise, and it turns out that Uncle has a mysterious past as a fighter. But we don't have time for your bullshit, Unc. Someone hit random on that iPod Shuffle that's been in a desk drawer since 2010, and it's playing the one Metallica song that was decent on an otherwise bad album. So when we get to the arena, we get the closest thing to a film's villain, Simeon. This guy is wearing armor and has one eye all messed up like a Bond villain. He looks like Clive Barker's Wario. Now, Oren opens the fight by trying all his old tricks, but it won't be enough. We get more cinematography undermined by bad direction and a lack of sense of impact or place. Ooh, this fight is a toughie. I wonder if he's going to make it. Like every other fight in this movie and every other problem where Oren hasn't actually been forced to overcome anything. And we get a series of unconvincing punches to the face as Godsmack plays, which Godsmack in the Christian MMA movie. I'd say it's a little on the nose, but were you expecting subtlety? And wouldn't you know it, the Godsmack Awake lyrics kick in like he's in the last phase of a Metal Gear Rising boss fight, and he just lays the final boss out and wins. Now, you might be asking what happens next. Or maybe you're wondering how Silly Putty picks shit up off of paper. The pipe down point is, let's finish this movie because I want to be done with this. So flash forward 3 years and a dude and another dude come to Oren's house. Oren is apparently a carpenter now and somebody's picking up a to-go order for Thomas and the Apostles because wouldn't you know it, Oren built the Last Supper table. And then Oren dreams about the crucifixion. On the night that Jesus is crucified and the temple is desecrated, there's a big earthquake. And in the morning, he goes out to help people who need it. He says, we should get some tools and start to rebuild. You see, because he learned kindness from the carpenter, I guess. Now, they hear through the grapevine about Yeshua dying, and the community comes together. And it's not conceptually a bad idea to tell a story about Jesus affecting somebody through kindness and having them pass it on. It's very pay it forward. And the movie actually, in bypassing a lot of the miracles and supernatural elements of the Bible, makes it a little bit more grounded of a story. So it's not that bad. It's just stapled to the rest of the fucking movie. So he's talking to his wife about how, oh, this isn't what I thought would happen. And he goes by Jesus' carpentry place and he touches all the tools mournfully and he says a prayer in the workshop about how he needs Jesus. And again, this is Yowie. This is Yowie. So Jesus appears to him in white and shows him his holes. In his hands. In his hands. The hand holes. And the film fades out and you can exhale now because it can't hurt you anymore. Having sat through so many Christian movies by now, I'm not necessarily surprised anymore when they turn out to be plodding, boring messes, but I am consistently shocked at how the genre manages to reach new heights of absolute celluloid insanity while also being incomprehensibly dull. In total fairness, The Carpenter had more going for it than most faith films. It had good image quality, on occasion good cinematography, a decent budget on location shooting. And then some 8th grade time traveler from the early days of the Xbox 360 took the script and wrote all of his favorite bands in crayon in the margins. There might be good aspects, but conceptually, top to bottom, there's nothing about this movie that works to the point I am genuinely surprised at the fortitude of everyone associated with it, that even after they had to have realized what an ill-fated idea it is, they stuck with it to the bitter end. Well, kinda. They didn't stick with it all the way to being on Amazon or at the very least some religious streaming service. But now you deserve to know, should you watch this? Presuming you've made it this far, you're probably also a sick-minded pervert like me who enjoys watching terrible films and maybe even laughing at them with friends while imbibing various substances that might heighten an otherwise intolerable experience. And if that's you, I still really can't recommend it. At 2 hours long, it is honestly torturous how long some of these scenes go on and how little actually happens across several months. Like, I'm pretty sure the Romans made Jesus sit through this as part of his torture. And the Carpenter is little more than a weird curio that, despite my best warnings, will likely still get some viewers who are, like me, driven foolhardily by just sheer morbid curiosity. And I don't blame anybody for just needing to know what a movie looks like about Jesus teaching an MMA fighter with a drowning pool and Godsmack soundtrack. The results should have been far more engaging, or at the very least far less boring, but at least now you've been warned. And don't forget to use code DEADDOMAIN or go to surfshark.com/deaddomain to get 4 months free when you sign up to a new Surfshark plan. One more time, that is code DEADDOMAIN, or click on the link in the comment and description down below to get 4 free months when you sign up. And I want to thank everybody scrolling across the screen right now, especially for being patient with me. I don't do videos like this a lot, so I hope you enjoyed it. I am working on several other much bigger projects, so it was nice to take a little break and work on something that was a little bit more fun, slightly more whimsical, if you will. I have 2 very big investigative pieces I've been working on that I don't know when they're going to come out. It's kind of a when they're done situation, but I am working on a much more conceptual video essay that I'm putting a lot of time and effort into. That will be my next project right after this hits the channel. So if you would like to help me continue making videos, keep doing my investigative work, or just keep reviewing goofy movies like this, please check out the links down below. Feel free to give some dollars at the links. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.